Karen Bass, then the trauma surgeon, Dr. Molly Dean, followed by the council member, Tim McOsker, who oversees the area of the incident. And lastly, we'll have Spanish by firefighter David Ortiz. After the Spanish, we'll allow one-on-one questions. So in reference to the actual incident, it took place at 6:58 this morning. We responded to the 1100 block of Alameda Street in Wilmington for an auto fire incident. When we arrived on scene, we had a semi-truck, and it was a tractor, no trailer, that was on fire. However, the unique aspect of this is that the truck was not powered by the usual fuel like diesel or gasoline. It was a clean air vehicle. It was powered by compressed natural gas, or CNG. So it had two 100-gallon tanks that are under 3,300 pounds of pressure, and those tanks are mounted on each side of the vehicle to power it. So per usual protocol, we had a total of 10 firefighters that responded to extinguish this fire. However, 6 minutes after arriving on scene, one of those CNG tanks exploded, and it tragically injured 9 of our members, 2 of them critically. Now, the truck driver, who was an adult female, fortunately was not injured. She noticed some abnormalities of the tanks. She exited, called 911, and she remains on scene cooperating. But we do have 2 critical firefighters, 4 in moderate injuries, and 3 that had minor injuries, totaling 9. Now, in reference to the actual actions that we took place on scene, at the peak of the incident, there was over 150 firefighters that ultimately responded. They would handle the medical aspect. Essentially, we had a mass casualty incident, tragically, of our own members to quickly triage, treat, and transport them. We had fire suppression issues to take care of with hose lines to extinguish small fire. And then we have a large hazardous materials component. Now, we did have flames that continued from one of those cylinders, the non-exploded one, for several hours. We then established a 500-foot perimeter around that blast zone to ensure safety. Now, it's important to mention, too, there was no homes in immediate danger that are in that area. So therefore, there was no formal evacuation needed. And we're proud to say that there was no civilians that were injured. Currently, we still have firefighters on scene, along with our friends from law enforcement, that are keeping the public outside that perimeter. And this does remain an active incident. And at this point, I'd like to turn this over to the fire chief of the Los Angeles City Fire Department, Kristen Crowley.
Well, hello everyone, and thank you so much for being here. Today is a day, I think, where all of us can take a moment to recognize how intrinsically dangerous firefighting can be. This morning, 10 of our firefighters responded to a reported auto fire in the harbor area. During fire suppression operations aimed at extinguishing the tractor trailer, a significant explosion occurred, injuring 9 of our LAFD firefighters. Now, when this incident occurred, the LAFD enacted our plan. Unfortunately, at times, we have to think forward to what can happen at any moment to our people. We already had a plan in place. We focused on 3 initial areas. 1, to stabilize the incident and to ensure public safety. Additional firefighters rushed to the scene with our highest level of command to ensure that the fire was extinguished and no continuing threat existed in the area and to the public. I am also happy to say that this has occurred, our plan is enacted, and there's no continuing threat to the public during this time. Second, we focused on the care of our injured firefighters. We ensured that all of our firefighters received rapid transport to the hospital and received the highest level of care here at Harbor UCLA Medical Center. 9 of our firefighters were initially injured at this incident. One of those firefighters received specialized care at the Burn Center, and he has already been airlifted to LA General Hospital for further care. We also recognize that when a firefighter suffers an injury, These effects go well beyond the individual firefighter. These families are impacted as well as our fellow firefighters. As our plan calls for, when we have a significant firefighter injury, we assembled an LAFD and city family, a holistic approach to ensure that we support our firefighters and their families. Third, we focus today, and one of our main focuses is to initiate a significant incident review team to look at the circumstances of today's events. This team is highly trained, and they will look at every single aspect of this incident and gather the opportunities for improvement and lessons learned. Now, I've taken the opportunity to meet with every single one of our 9 members and to look at them and their faces was something that I will never forget. I'm reminded of how heroic our members are, and that each and every day they are putting themselves in harm's way to provide an incredible level of expertise and professionalism to the people that we serve. Now, there's no more difficult call to receive as a fire chief than to receive this specific type of notification. As I did this morning, the 9 fellow firefighters that were injured during this event, again, I'm reminded of their professionalism and what they do every single day. Now, this incident is an opportunity for all of us to remember the commitment of our firefighters and other public safety workers who make that sacrifice each and every day, as well as put others before themselves. I would like to thank all of the LAFD members, the hospital staff, other public safety members, our elected leaders, including Mayor Bass, our council members who are here, for coming to support our firefighters and their families in our time of need. To the public, we thank you for always allowing us to serve you. And I would like to ask today that you keep our 9 injured firefighters in your thoughts and in your prayers. God bless our country, God bless our city of Los Angeles, and God bless the men and women of the LAFD. Next up will be Mayor Bass, who will be providing her remarks.
Thank you, Chief Crowley. This is a difficult day in Los Angeles. I want to thank Chief Crowley for her leadership in these difficult times. We've been in touch throughout the morning, and I've also been in touch with the union leadership as well. I'm here with a simple message to our firefighters in the building behind me and in fire stations across our city watching the news this morning unfold. The 4 million people of Los Angeles stand with you. While Angelinos were barely waking up and making their first cup of coffee, our LAFD firefighters were courageously responding to this blaze, putting their lives on the line to protect each one of us, as they do every single day. I want to acknowledge the families of the firefighters who were injured this morning and all of their firefighter colleagues. Our thoughts are with you as we all hope for a rapid recovery for all involved. And I will say that Angelinos are offering their thoughts and prayers as well for you who are injured, your families, and all of LAFD today. What happened this morning is a risk that our firefighters take every single day. And again, we are grateful as a city and as a region for their service. I know some of our firefighters that were injured this morning are in various states of surgery and recovery. And I will say that there is no better staff than the one here at Harbor UCLA Medical Center and LAC USC Medical Center. I want to thank the nurses, the doctors, the surgeons, everyone working together to respond to this incident, and led by our next speaker, Dr. Molly Dean, who is the trauma surgeon here. Dr. Dean.
Thank you, Mayor Bass. At approximately 7:21 this morning, our facility was notified of this mass casualty incident that had occurred over in the harbor. We were notified that we'd be receiving multiple patients. Shortly thereafter, the 2 critically injured arrived. An additional 7 patients then followed. Those patients were evaluated for burn, blast, and airway inhalational injuries and stabilized. One of those individuals required intubation and was transported to LA General, which is our local county burn center, one of 3 in the county. After the patients were able to be stabilized, I was actually able to visualize some of the footage to see the blast injury that had occurred to these patients. And frankly, it's remarkable that none of them were more severely injured after watching the footage. Most people should actually do fairly well. They've been stabilized, and I don't have additional information on their injuries. We were also fortunate that this occurred close by. Patients arrived very quickly. Multiple staff members were at the ready to assume care of these patients and get them triaged as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Tim McCosker. I'm a councilman of the 15th District. My district includes the community of Wilmington, where this incident occurred. I began getting calls from concerned residents immediately after the blast. It was a great and well-trained task force coming out of 38s that responded first, and unfortunately the members of 38s in that response were injured. These are members of our community. They're members of their own families, they're members of the fire family, they're also members of the Wilmington family, and so our hearts and prayers go out to them. I want to say that I did have the opportunity to be on scene, and I appreciate just how well trained and how professional the LAFD is. On that scene, which is a large perimeter, and I do want to say this to my community in Wilmington, it's a large perimeter. It runs essentially from Alameda to Henry Ford, from Anaheim to PCH. It is a scene that has been secured, and we have Port Police and LAPD who have made sure to secure that area, and we have all of the resources of LAPD there, LAFD there, to make sure that we're responding to the hazardous situation, to the risk, to make sure there's no further risk to the surrounding people, property, and most importantly to the women and men of our fire department. It is a moment like this when we realize how important it is for us to fund LAFD, to make sure that we have all of the resources necessary to respond to the complexity of what happens down at the port, to respond to what happens in the complexity down at the port. I thank the mayor for her support. I certainly thank everybody on this hospital staff for the great care of these firefighters. And I will say, as the son of a firefighter and the father of 2 firefighters, this is a day that you never want to hear of. Every single member of this department is like a father, a brother, a sister, or a child of ours. And so I appreciate the concern that has been outpouring from my entire district and from the entire city. So thank you.
Aproximadamente las 6:58 de esta mañana, el Departamento de Bomberos acudió a una llamada de 911 donde se reportó un incidente envolviendo un vehículo en llamas. Al llegar a la escena, los bomberos encontraron un vehículo de tractor, de semi, envuelto en llamas. Empezaron a coordinar un ataque a estas llamas y uno de los tanques que este tractor tenía explotó. Lo diferente de este incidente es que estos tipos de vehículos típicamente llevan como combustible diésel. Este vehículo llevaba gas comprimido natural. Al explotar, 9 bomberos fueron lesionados y fueron transportados inmediatamente a la sala de emergencia a mis espaldas. Queremos agradecer al personal de este hospital por su diligencia y su excelente tratamiento de nuestros miembros y queremos agradecer también el apoyo que hemos recibido de el personal electo como la alcalde y el concejal. Lo que quiero decirles es nuevos números en cuanto a los tipos de lesiones. Fueron 2 miembros del Departamento de Bomberos que recibieron lesiones críticas. Uno de ellos recibió quemaduras significativas, lo cual causó que un helicóptero lo llevara al Hospital de Los Ángeles en el centro para recibir tratamiento de sus quemaduras. En este momento también tenemos 4 bomberos que recibieron lesiones moderadas y 3 bomberos que recibieron lesiones mínimas. Esperamos que sus familias están apoyándolos. La jefa de bomberos fue y estuvo con cada uno de nuestros miembros y fue traumático para ella lo que vio, porque es algo muy difícil ver cara a cara a una persona que ha sostenido lesiones trágicas como las que recibieron nuestros bomberos. Agradecemos al público que nos están apoyando ahorita con sus sentimientos de pésame y apoyo, y queremos decirles que ahorita continúa la investigación en cuanto a qué fue lo que ocurrió causando esta explosión. El incidente causó la cierre de la calle Alameda en la cuadra 1100, y en todo derredor la policía aseguró que nadie se pueda acercar. El segundo tanque de este tractor no explotó, pero continuó disipando el gas natural. Miembros del especialistas de sustancias peligrosas han estado tomando medidas del gas que está en el aire, y su concentración es mínima, lo cual no lleva.
All right, you have been listening to a live news conference at Harbor UCLA Medical Center on the explosion we had this morning in Wilmington. New information we heard today: the driver of the semi-truck that was on fire, and that's why the firefighters responded. That driver is not injured. The driver managed to get out of the truck. We do know that 9 firefighters were injured. We were told earlier there were 7, 2 in critical condition, 4 in moderate injuries.
If you'd like to hear more of this press conference, you can go to our streaming app. We'll see you on Eyewitness News at 3 o'clock.
And this note from Supervisor Hahn, quote, "I want to express my solidarity with the Los Angeles Fire Department. My prayers are with each of the injured firefighters and their families, with the entire department, and I am grateful for the LA County doctors and nurses who are doing everything they can to save lives. I have represented Wilmington for decades now, and I know that the truck traffic in that area, a tragic like this one, is something the community has worried about for a long time." End of quote. That's from County Supervisor Janice Hahn.
Thank you, ma'am. We're going to now open this up to questions, and we're going to begin with ABC 7.
Right here, Jessica Villalba. The first question is for Chief Crowley. I know that you spoke with the firefighters. The 2 that are critically injured, I know one was intubated. Were they able to gesture back, or are they able to communicate with you? And do we expect their injuries? We didn't expect them to survive.
Right, so the question specifically is about our 2 critically injured members, and what was that, perhaps the conversation, or what did I see? And I can share that with all of you at this point. I did have the opportunity to spend time with one of the critically injured members. He is stable. It looks like he may stay here just for additional observation. He was speaking. His family is on scene. I had the opportunity to speak with the family as well, and I wanted to ensure that they all felt the love and support that is coming to the families that are impacted, but that was the one critical member that I did have the opportunity who was awake and alert and talking. The second patient was the one that was in critical condition as well. That was the one that was airlifted out per our air ambulance and transported to the burn center at LA General. And that's the specifics that I can share with you at this time.
Chief, are there going to be any examinations and protocols for handling CNG type fires on this? Because again, what happened here, fuel air explosion, literally, I guess. Are going to be investigators going to be looking at approaches in the future to try to prevent any further injuries of this type of things happening?
Sure. So the question was, is there going to be any type of a review in standard operating procedures that deal with CNG types of fires, that sort of a thing? I alluded to earlier that we already have in place our serious incident response team that are highly qualified in this type of, any type of serious incident. They're already on scene, collecting information, interviewing individuals that were there. Anytime that we can collect information where if there's a safer way to conduct ourselves, or perhaps this was something that would not even made a difference. In the end, we want to ensure that our people have the information and the training to ensure their safety. And just as important is sharing with the rest of the fire service as a whole, and this already happens across the nation and internationally, is sharing lessons learned. And if there's a safer, more efficient way of doing things, we'll provide that.
Along those lines, in terms of public safety, when it comes to these types of vehicles, for example, say that had been a collision between two cars, what's the best practice? What do people do going forward if they're dealing with that kind of truck and that kind of natural gas on board?
So the question specifically is, what can the public do if they're involved in this type of an accident where it's a CNG vehicle or hydrogen-powered vehicle, whatever it may be? I think it's having that heightened level of awareness of a traffic accident today is not the same as a traffic accident that we used to have in the past. We have lots of different vehicles that are powered in a lot of different ways. The safest thing to do is to exit that vehicle if it makes sense, understanding what are the safety issues that might be at hand. And anytime there's any fire that's involved in those types of vehicles that are powered by CNG or hydrogen or some other type of gas, it's really important that the public understands that distance will provide safety.
And just one more follow-up there. In terms of the driver's responsibility, for example, when firefighters got, did the driver say, hey, this is what we got on board here, this is what we're dealing with, be aware?
Yes, so the question is, what responsibility does a driver potentially have to notify our first responders of a specific type of vehicle and how that is powered? I would say if that is a possibility, these situations and incidents are very dynamic. Depending upon what the situation is, first and foremost, the driver should always provide for their safety. If there's the opportunity to communicate with our first responders to say this is a CNG vehicle, this is a hydrogen powered vehicle, that's helpful information. But always, always, always from the public side, the driver's side, make sure that they have their personal safety and well-being first. And if the opportunity is there, that is helpful information for our first responders.
Chief Victor Cordero with Univision. Do we know if this vehicle is part of a bigger fleet? And if so, is there any risk of this happening? Or what would be the step to prevent something like this to happen in the vehicle?
So the question is, are we aware if this vehicle was any type of a larger type of a fleet? I do not have that answer for you. I think that that could be something that our subject matter experts might be able to talk to, maybe not at this moment, but that is a very important piece to understand where these vehicles are, where they're stored, and perhaps what other additional safety mechanisms should be in place that can provide safety to the drivers, to the public, to the community, as well as our first responders.
Chief, I have a question for Dr. Dean, please. Doctor, thank you so much for your response today. You guys certainly work under pressure, and I'm sure it was a chaotic scene when the firefighters came in. Can you just tell us, when people come in with these burns to that degree, what are you working to stabilize first?
So one of our concerns was with information that we received from the emergency personnel who dropped them off, was we knew that not only had they been burned, but that there had been an explosion and a blast. They had potentially been on top of a truck and then thrown back. So that tells us that there's now maybe multiple mechanisms of injury at play, which can lead to then multiple types of injury. First and foremost, we're always concerned about stabilizing someone's airway, especially if we're worried about an inhalational injury. And so for those two critically injured, that was the very first part that we evaluated for both of them. And then additionally, all the other blast injuries.
Thank you, Doctor.
Yeah.
Thank you. Were there any other questions that we could answer at this time? Okay, well, we appreciate again your being here, and we'll provide you updates when we can. We do not anticipate another press conference later today. Thank you.